So, there's more to this Lance Stroll thing then. Let's catch up, shall we? Back on Friday, during qualifying, Lance Stroll caught the eye of many by seemingly shoving his personal trainer, Henry Howe, after ignoring a request to be weighed by the FIA after his session had finished. I cover it here in this video if you need to be filled in. Okay, I want you to pretend that you're Lance Stroll. This has gotten out to the media, the world is talking about this and not liking what they see. And what you would do is that after qualifying is over, you talk to the press or just go on Twitter and acknowledge that it happened and that you apologize for the incident and explain why you felt that way and why you had to resort to shoving someone potentially. And then it might have been that, and we could have gotten on with the weekend and maybe looked at the positives that Lance Stroll on the track was nearly about to score his first points in quite a while. I mean, of course, track limits came into play and then he decided to talk about them being a joke and yeah, he lost out points, so it was very unlucky in that regard. So he could have actually been able to salvage something. Well, we didn't get that. And that's why, nearly a week later, it's still a talking point. It will not go away, despite all of Aston Martin's attempts to sweep it under the carpet. Especially since the FIA's own compliance officer has gotten involved in proceedings in relation to several incidents that may have contravened FIA rules, policies and procedures during the Qatar Grand Prix. I bet you were thinking what I was thinking at the time I heard that. What's an FIA compliance officer, and they even had a compliance officer? I was actually doing a little bit of digging and I actually was able to find out the LinkedIn page of the compliance officer himself. Said officer, or one of the officers, Paolo Basari, actually explains what he does. Ahem. I am responsible for 1. Ensuring compliance with internal and external regulations, in particular the FIA Code of Ethics, 2. Investigating alleged concerns of misconduct, and 3. Supporting the activities of the FIA Ethics Committee. Okay, I am going to preface this that I am merely an armchair pundit, or more accurately a ladder pundit, so I'm not really versed in all of this stuff, and I'm pretty much just pontificating and giving my own conjecture and my take on what I am seeing. Here's a screen grab of the full list of duties and responsibilities that Mr. Basari has, so you can pause and read it at your leisure, but the ones that really intrigue me are internal investigations, assessment and investigation of whistleblowers' concerns, and ethics and compliance training. Now already this is getting me very, very curious. I don't know the ins and outs about what's going on right now behind the scenes, but you're getting somebody like that involved that has responsibilities to do with compliance training and ethics and whistleblowers' concerns? Lance Stroll, by doing this and then the team not really handling this in a proper and swift manner, is bringing the sport into disrepute potentially, because this seems to be a matter of discussion for a very, very long time and it won't go away. Now, you might be familiar with the FIA talking about disrepute and the sport. They do like to use that word quite a lot. The best example in history is when Andrea Moda were doing all of their things back in the early 90s and the FIA basically shoved them off the grid because they brought the sport into disrepute. The quote actually said several incidents going down. Means that there's more? Well, if you actually think about it and walk back what happened with Lance Stroll that weekend, you can start to see that there were other things going on at the time, such as his qualifying interview, where he was really terse, he cussed live on air, barely spoke, and then walked off, probably not doing the proper rounds as you're supposed to do with the media. That's probably a big FIA no-no. There may be something to do with his conduct about talking about track limits, then also him talking about how he was passing out with about 20 laps to go or so during the race, and he only bragged about it later on when he was talking to the press. Actually talking to the press. So that's kind of a big concern. We saw a lot of drivers struggling with heat stroke and various other cases of dehydration. This was a track that really shouldn't have been taking place in October. Even FIFA did the right thing by putting the World Cup towards November and December. Thankfully, next year, it is going to be the penultimate race around late November, early December, so we're not going to be probably seeing this thing again. But still, we really shouldn't have seen it at all. But what Lance was saying was almost the driver equivalent of the black and orange flag, where the stewards see that your car is basically falling apart while you're driving it and you need to go into the pits to get it looked at. Realistically, Lance should have actually just communicated with his team and saying that, I'm struggling guys, I'm passing out, I'm feeling like I can't really continue. That's what Logan Sargent did, and he was able to retire safely and get any treatment that he needed. but Lance Stroll was braving it out, not really communicating things, and that could have led to a really big accident. What if he passed out in a high-speed corner? He could have just gone into the barrier, almost at high speed, kind of like what happened when Felipe Massa lost consciousness when he got hit in the head by a spring from Rubens Barrichello's car at Hungary. He might have been severely injured. Or worse, if he was duking it out with Pierre Gasly, which he was doing a lot, and he took him out at high speed in the middle of a corner. People, know your limits. Don't try and be brave. Oh well, I mean, at least he did get himself checked out the ambulance when he got out of the car, so it's something. What will come of this discussion with the FIA compliance officer? Probably nothing major, more like a slap on the wrist or a fine. And some folks suggest that a race ban should be in order, but I think that's a little bit draconian. I think what he needs to be told by the FIA compliance officer is that this is really behaviour that shouldn't be going on with all of the eyes on Formula 1 right now, its biggest audience ever. There are lots of people looking at Formula 1, young drivers looking up to Formula 1, and this is not how a driver should be behaving. I understand that people do get irate when things aren't going their way, but you really should be able to vent your frustrations in private with people that you care about and that you trust, not doing it in front of other people and undermining their efforts and making them feel uncomfortable. That's not on. That shows a lack of respect. Or if I want to be cynical, the FIA might just tell him, just don't do it in front of the cameras, okay? Because you're making us look bad. The FIA had to be seen doing something because Aston Martin weren't doing anything substantial. That's the biggest beef I have with this. If Lance was going to say nothing about it, then surely the team could have said something in the wake of the matter flaring up along the lines of, we're looking into the matter and we have assurances from Lance that this will not happen again and he is truly sorry for what happened. But we didn't get that. We got silence for the entire evening. The ideal distraction for Aston Martin being that for qualifying, Alonso got 4th place, and hey, look at Alonso, he did way better than we expected. Just look at that, please. We then did get something from Mike Crack, but it was really lacking, saying that, oh, I haven't really looked at the footage yet, and I don't know the situation, so I need to take a look before I jump to conclusions. It doesn't really seem like you're taking this seriously. It's almost like you're going, whoa guys, let's just wait. Let's wait until we have all the information. No, there should have been a swift response saying, you are going to look into this matter immediately. We have visual evidence of it happening. That's pretty clear, cut and dry. You immediately talk to the drivers and the personal trainer about what happened, as well as other people in the vicinity. Easy. We finally heard something from Lance himself, and what we got was, we're good, he's a bro. Okay. It's not really the best way to say it, Lance, and there wasn't really an apology still. He did say that he was talking about frustrations and that things got the better of him, but it didn't really seem really substantial. It was almost like he was told by his PR team to just talk about it, say you're cool, and then just go on to other things. I get it, tensions run high. Lance qualified badly, again, and that he was mad. He's going through a lot, but that doesn't excuse anybody for taking it out on people physically, let alone verbally. And then you get Aston Martin, when they do speak, talking it down as if it were a non-issue that doesn't need to be looked into immediately. Then eventually this week, we got a response from Mike Crack, and it's not really ideal, saying that the matter will be looked at internally at the right time, saying you need to wait, and maybe everybody sleeps one night, and then we have a look, and we discuss, and then the world is a different one. No, Mr. Crack, we have slept maybe 4 or 5 times now, and the world really isn't different in thinking of what happened with Lance Stroll. We do understand that he was under a lot of pressure and that things got the better of him, but what we didn't get was a swift apology and acknowledgement that what he did was wrong. Why does Lance have to apologise? No, it's a team sport, Formula 1. You can't be this aggressive and shoving people around and being angry. It's just going to bring the whole mood down, and then what happens? You're not really going to progress because the entire side of your garage is really not going to be in the best means to try and give you as much as you can get. All that it took from Aston Martin was just to swiftly deal with it on the same day, and that would have been that. But we didn't get that. We're still talking about it. And based on what Mike Crack is saying right now, he is turning the whole situation onto us. Like it's our fault that it's still going on and people talking about it. The reason why we're talking about it is because there's been so little from you to try and clear things up. We are having to fill in the gaps because there were so many gaps in that first 24, 36 hours that we should show respect for people like Lance, drivers and athletes. We did show our respect to the drivers for being able to stick it out during the Qatar Grand Prix in some of the harshest conditions any Formula 1 driver has had to deal with. We showed respect there. We showed respect for even Lance Stroll for getting to the end of the race. That's where we show respect for them. What we don't show respect for is basically shoving people around. That is never cool, no matter what you are. I do get that drivers are hounded, that there's little privacy for them at the track, but even then, when the adrenaline is coursing through their veins, that doesn't provide a get-out clause to outwardly shove people around who had nothing to do with Stroll falling out of Q1. Now, take Logan Sargent for example. He fell out of Q1 as well, and he had even more of a reason to be annoyed. He was about to, for the first time, out-qualify Alex Albon, and it was Albon that pipped into the post in getting into Q2. He should have been absolutely frustrated. He's in a really bad situation right now. His F1 career, the thing that he's been dreaming about for his entire career, being one of the first American drivers in a long time to be in the sport, is on the line. And no, we don't hear stories about Logan Sargent chucking wheels around and shoving people around who had nothing to do with it. It just makes you think, what's the environment of Aston Martin right now? That it's that tense, that Lance Stroll feels that it's okay to shove people around. Whereas Logan, who's in an arguably even bigger pickle, we hear nothing about that sort of thing. This, to me, is just yet another example of Mike Crack downplaying Lance Stroll's inadequacies in relation to Fernando Alonso, saying many times throughout the season that Lance Stroll's performance isn't all that bad, that he's actually really close to Fernando Alonso. Objectively, when you look at the numbers, when you look at the points, there's a massive gap. Arguably, there's an even bigger gap between Stroll and Alonso than there is to Perez and Verstappen right now. This is something that really shouldn't be happening amongst the top 5 teams. Yes, the Perez-Verstappen gap is quite big too, but at this point with the constructors, it doesn't really matter. All that I can really establish at the moment is that Aston Martin are being incredibly patient with Lance Stroll, and that is good. If he is having problems, then the last thing that you need is a team about to chuck you out. Lance doesn't have that problem because his contract is as long as a piece of string. In theory, he's there for as long as he wants to be, and that should be a major relief for any driver. Drivers always prosper when they realize that their contract is a-okay, nothing to worry about, your F1 dream will continue. But we're not really getting that. We're getting Lance Stroll acting like a rookie who's been in the sport for nearly 7 years. This is his 7th season, and he's still acting sometimes like a rookie. And one thing I don't really get about his struggles is that he's the biggest constant Aston Martin has. Lance Stroll has been with that team in some capacity since 2019. He's been around with Aston Martin since the very beginning of its current iteration. Surely the car would have been developed with Lance Stroll in mind, because we've seen the likes of Vettel come and go, Checo come and go, Alonso here, who's now having to adapt to this car because Stroll has been around for a long time. You think that by now, Lance Stroll would be able to provide some input about what he wants in a car, and that the team will be able to give him what they want. But since Vettel and Alonso are multiple world champions, they have the power to be able to adapt to it easily, so just favour Lance Stroll. It's becoming clear to me that maybe he has reached the peak of his talent and he cannot extract any more, and it's getting to him. And it's probably getting to everyone that's close to him. I really feel sorry for all the pain and anguish he may be going through, but you really need to remind yourself that you are an F1 driver. You are an example to many drivers in the junior category and children who want to become a Formula 1 driver in the future. If you go around shoving people and cussing on live TV and giving rude answers and actually irresponsibly driving when you could pass out at any second and not communicate with your team properly, that's not a good look, and no wonder the FIA is getting involved. This is not a good example to set for upcoming drivers. This is something that Aston Martin are not dealing with in a timely fashion. So now the governing body of the sport is getting involved because it has to be sorted out. All of this could have been dealt with quickly if it had just been talked about on the night it happened. But it didn't happen, and now we're still talking about it. So really, Aston Martin, it's down to you why we're still talking about this. Clearly, this is yet another blow for Aston Martin's dreams of being a top-tier team. And if you want to know why McLaren might make that dream even worse, you can watch this video next. A little bit more harmony going on there.